Hello, I am Dylan Anderson, a partner at Johnston, Morrison Hunter, Chartered Professional Accountants. We've teamed up with the Medicine Hat Chamber to do a few videos in regard to the COVID government programs available. And today we're going to talk about the Canadian Emergency Business Account, or for short, CEBA. So we're going to talk about what CEBA is. We're going to talk about what they're calling CEBA Expansion, who can apply, how to apply, and the loan maturity date on this loan. So the CEBA have got 5.0 because there's actually been 5 versions. So this is the latest. It is a loan. It's a $60,000 interest-free loan that matures on December 31st, 2022. And if you pay that loan off before that date, you can get $20,000 of it forgiven. So you'd only have to pay back 40 of the 60,000. So what is the CEBA expansion? That is, if you apply for CEBA under the other 4 categories, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, CEBA 4.0, it originally was for $40,000 and you would get up to $10,000 forgiven. And recently they've expanded it to 60. So for those who actually have already applied for this and received the $40,000, basically if you're still having some financial hardship due to COVID and you did qualify previously, you're going to qualify again. And so you're actually just going to apply through your online bank account. There's where you would have applied originally for the CEBA loan, there's the CEBA Loan Expansion. You click on that, and it's a short little form that you got to do, and that's it. There's no more invoices that have to be uploaded and that kind of thing. So those who have already got the 40 grand looking at the expansion, that's how easy it is for you guys. So you probably don't need to continue watching. For everybody else who hasn't gotten the loan yet and need to get some more information on that, keep listening. So who can apply? You have to have been a business that was established before March 1st of 2020. You would have had to have a business number registered with CRA before March 1st, and you have to have a business bank account. Originally, you had to have a business bank account before March 1st, but they've changed that, so you actually could get a business account now. If you just had a regular bank account that you're operating through, you can get a business account now and apply now. So that's opened up for quite a few, because a lot of people who are just sole proprietorships just run out of a regular bank account because the banking fees are cheaper. So unfortunately, you still have to get a business bank account in order to continue and qualify. So once you have those 3, then you will qualify under 2 different categories. One is if your business has paid out 20,000 of wages or more from 2019. So everybody who pays wages has to do a T4 summary that they filed with Canada Revenue Agency. So on your 2019 T4 summary that you filed, if that dollar amount is more than $20,000, then you're going to qualify. And actually, then it's going to be that simple. You have a lot less to do. However, if you don't have $20,000 worth of wages, you can still qualify, but you have a lot more work you have to do. You have to prove that you have $40,000 or more of non-deferrable expenses, net any government COVID response programs that you've received. So what are government COVID response programs we're talking about? I've labeled, I'll just jump ahead a couple here. So I've labeled 3 very common ones that we're seeing. So Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy, the 10% temporary wage subsidy, and then the Canadian Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance. So if you've gotten any money from any of those programs, that's actually going to affect how you apply for your loan here. So go back to my screen here. So if you have, so if you say you receive $10,000 under one of those other programs, government programs, you actually have to prove that you have $50,000 worth of non-deferrable expenses. So 50 less the 10 that you receive from the government has to be more than the 40,000 in order to qualify. So if you had exactly 40,000 and you got $10,000 from the government through one of those other programs, you will not qualify. So your net has to be more than 40,000. Now the other question is what the heck is a non-deferrable expense? Well, let's look at those. There's quite a few. I've got 2 slides here. It's quite a few things here, and let me see if I can explain it a little bit to you. Number one is kind of funny because they say wages. Well, if you had $20,000 of wages, you wouldn't come to this screen. You would have already qualified. So if you don't have 20,000 and say you only had 10,000, that $10,000 wage would have to be to a non-related person. So that qualifies. You got rent, lease payments, insurance, property taxes, and telephone, utilities, internet. Those all qualify as non-deferrable expenses that are eligible for this program, and you got to add all those up to try to get to more than $40,000. One of the biggest ones usually is debt. So if you had a bunch of loans in your company, the regular payment schedule for 2020, those payments, you'd add all those up. That includes the principal and interest payments. Then the other ones are independent contractors and some payments incurred for materials consumed to produce product. Now this one's a little tricky. Well, actually, they're all very tricky, I guess. The payments incurred for materials consumed to produce a product. So if you were making tables and you're selling tables, the materials consumed would be the wood, the screws, the paint, everything that directly goes into making that product to sell it. Now, the tricky part is if you have invoices for that, for those materials in January and February, that's great. You can use those towards the 40,000. However, any materials purchased after that, after March 1st of 2020, you have to have had a contract in place dated prior to March 1st, stating that you are going to buy these materials at a future date. You were obligated to buy this product. Those qualify. But if you just went out to the store on March 30th and bought a bunch of materials for that were directly related to the products that you sell, that's no go. You have to have a contract in place. That's the same as insurance. So I said insurance is one of them. If you were renewing your insurance on May 1st of 2020 and you gave them the May 1st, 2020 annual statement of your insurance, that doesn't qualify because it doesn't prove that you had the obligation to pay that insurance prior to March 1st. So you actually have to go back to May of 2019 to get the invoice showing them that you had insurance from that May 1st, 2019 to May 2020. It probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to some people, considering you got a renewal for May 1st on for the remainder of 2020. Doesn't matter. What we've seen on our submissions to the government, they just have to see some sort of invoice proving that you have these annual costs. So it's very interesting. The other thing we've learned is telephone bill, utility bill. If you just give them January or February and times that by 12, that's great. If it's January and February 2020, they love that. There's no problem with that. So really the takeaway here is to prove your $40,000 worth of expenses, you have to use support that's dated before March 2020. So you have to have your telephone invoice times that dollar amount by 12. Rent, your leases, an invoice, you're only going to get 2 months worth if you just show an invoice. You have to get that contract. You have to show them the contract showing that the contract was in place before March 1st, 2020 for COVID outbreak here in Canada, and that you are obligated to make those payments from March, April, May, June, July, all the way through for the entire 2020 year. So once you do all that work, calculate it up, hopefully that the expenses that you've actually incurred from January and February and the reoccurring expenses from March all the way to December 31st, 2020, hopefully that number adds up past the 40,000 net any government programs. Then you are good to go to the next step. So the next step is actually going to your online bank account, and it should be plastered everywhere, no matter what bank you're at. Wherever your business bank account is, you're going to go to that website. There's going to be, hey, apply for the CEBA loan. You click on that and you follow through all the questions. Some of the things that you're going to need right off the get-go is your bank account information, your last year's tax return filed. If you are claiming wages, you need the T4 summary that you filed, because you're going to have to use that number from that piece of paper to fill in the box on the application. And then you're going to need your business number registration with CRA. So those who have $20,000 worth of wages, you're lucky. So once you submit this application on the bank's website, you're done. And then you just sit and wait, and then you'll get your money. Those who don't have wages of $20,000 or more paid out of their business, you have to do more than that. So once you've submitted your application, the bank's going to say, thank you very much for the application. Here's your next step. And it will have a link to the CEBA upload area. You actually have to take all those invoices, your rental agreements, your insurance agreement, your utility statements from January, February, telephone bill, internet, all those that was listed on that slide there. You have to upload those individually to the government, and that number needs to match what you entered at the beginning of the application. Once you do that, then you submit it, and the government comes back and says, thank you very much for the submission. And then you wait a couple weeks, and you'll find out whether you were approved or not. If you're not approved, then maybe you have to upload something a little bit clearer for them. So one of the ones that I missed there was the loans. We talked about the loans. You need a loan agreement. You need to show what the original loan agreement, dollar amounts and terms, and then your latest statement prior to March 1st, 2020, showing that you still owed money to them and what your next payments are going to be. So that's, get all that up. If you're denied, CRA is really good. The government's really good about it. They say you're denied, call this number and find out why. And you can call, find out what's going on, and then you can re-upload everything with additional information to try to get approved. So it's quite the process for sure. We've seen quite a few, and it's very interesting. So once you've been approved, what's the next step? Next step is now you have a loan, interest-free, and you'll want to get that paid off. You'll hold on to it, but you'll want to get it paid off in December 31st of 2020. Because if you do pay it off before that date, out of the $60,000 that you received, $40,000 will be due, and the remaining $20,000 will be forgiven. If for some reason you're unable to make that $40,000 payment by that time, the bank will convert it into an interest-bearing loan, but they'll convert the full $60,000. So you right away not only will be paying interest on your loan, you'll also lose the fact that the $20,000 that would have been forgiven if you had paid it off is gone. You'll have to pay back the full 60 plus interest. So definitely very important to get other financing in place if needed to pay that off by the maturity date, so that you can access the full benefit of this loan. Now this one's pretty, it seems straightforward, but can be quite complicated once you get in there. Everybody has a unique situation, so it's very hard to kind of just generalize it, because everybody has a specific question that they might think they qualify and they may not, and vice versa. So definitely reach out to us, see if we